Welcome to our study called The Ark and the Covenant. We're looking at Genesis 6, 9 through 22. Last time we looked at Genesis 6, 1 through 8. We saw the growing depravity of the human race. Every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The evil was so great that God said he would blot out man from the face of the land. But we find a bright spot in verse 8 where Noah has found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Now, come to the book of Noah. In Genesis 6, 9, we have another division. It starts, "These are the generations of Noah." We'll have a few more divisions like this, but here we see that verses 1 through 8 of chapter 6 belong to chapter 5, and now we begin a new story. We've been introduced to the evil of mankind and of favored Noah. But now our author Moses is going to explain to us in more detail the sin of man and what God did about it. As we have read these two chapters and think about the evil that was in people's hearts, the temptation is to separate them from us. It's easy to look down upon those ancient people and separate their moral depravity from the culture that we live in. After all, our thoughts aren't continually evil, are they? Of course not. We're good people. Well, I was looking at a recent Gallup poll and found the results pretty telling and somewhat disturbing as well. When asked if buying or wearing fur clothing was morally wrong, 43% of people said yes. Of course, abusing animals is wrong, but it was God who showed Peter animals and told him to take and eat. And God clothed Adam and Eve in animal skins. You know what? And only 27% thought that sex outside of marriage was wrong. And 32% thought that homosexual acts were wrong. These two things, which God clearly says is wrong. So you have the balance of like wearing and buying fur items, which more people thought was wrong than having sex outside of marriage, and homosexual sex, which God clearly says is wrong. But, we would expect this, right? I mean, man is in rebellion against what God has said. In fact, it appears that what our culture calls morally acceptable is becoming more and more arbitrary as we go along. Why did 72% of people say it was morally acceptable for an unmarried man and woman to engage in sex, but only 38% for teenagers? Why the difference there? Because of their age? Why do we care? Culture's weird. Why did only 36% think that pornography was morally acceptable? I was surprised at how low the number was. Only 36% thought it was morally acceptable. But if you compare that to the number of 9% that thought adultery was acceptable. So, that's weird. Or what about the fact that 18% of people thought suicide was morally acceptable? And only 44% of those asked believe abortion was morally acceptable. So you have 44% believe that killing someone in the womb, a defenseless unborn child, is okay. But only 18% thought that killing yourself was okay. Both are evil, right? But this should make you stop and think. Are Americans good people? We often hear that Americans are just good people down inside. But how would you define that? What are the intentions of their hearts? This kind of moral ambiguity is the context where we find ourselves, and also the story of Noah. It starts with the fact that God sees the faithfulness in Noah, but God sees evil as well. Since God is just and holy God, he must punish evil, but because he is also a merciful God who provides salvation, then we have that also in this story. The way that God does this is that God establishes his covenant with Noah. And we'll see that. After God does all this, we're left with one question. What will Noah do?